In visual effects, 3D shadows are often rendered as a separate pass for added control. In this case, it was decided to render a shadow pass only on the tram because it was the only foreground geometry that was moving. Here, the shadow pass is a subtle touch that increases the feeling of depth without overpowering the scene. Shadow passes are rendered as black and have built-in opacity channels called alpha channels that act as cookie-cutter mattes. This allows only the important parts to show through while making the rest of the pass transparent. Click on the Show Alpha button to examine the shadow quality. We have two methods for generating shadows at our disposal. I need you to pick the best one for our needs. The first one is called ray tracing. This one is computationally intensive but very accurate. It fires rays from the camera and traces them between objects and lights. The renderer checks each pixel in the scene to see if it's illuminated or if it lies in shadow. Since the renderer checks every pixel, ray tracing can cost a lot of time. The second shadow type is called shadow mapping. Instead of sampling all the pixels in the scene, the render engine measures the distances from the light to illuminated objects and creates a depth map. A depth map is created before rendering even begins and is stored in memory. This helps the renderer quickly look up distances and cut off illumination for objects beyond that cutoff range. Because the map only has to be measured once, it generally takes much less time to render shadows than with ray tracing. There are a few drawbacks to the shadow mapping method. First, the process of setting up shadow mapping can be more manually intensive than ray tracing. You have to customize your shadow maps to render efficiently, yet have enough resolution to provide quality renders without artifacts. Too much resolution could bog down the system. Too little could give your shadows jagged edges. Also, shadow maps are mostly used with spotlights. Any other type of light could require a very large shadow map and crash your system. Finally, shadow mapping will not respect transparency maps. Remember the video stand-in geometry for bounced light and reflections? If you try to map the live action footage onto a polygon and cast shadows from it into the scene using the shadow mapping method, the shadows will not come out in the shape of the actresses. They will just be a large square shadow that falls on the railing. You would not be able to use cast shadows from the live action video this way. Chances are that you won't really notice a difference anyway, because the shadow effect is pretty subtle overall in this scene. So these are the strengths and weaknesses of ray tracing and shadow mapping. It's up to you if the speed of shadow mapping is more important than the quality of ray tracing. Have a look at the alpha channels of each type so you can see the quality difference. Choose well.